the most gracious, the most merciful. Today, lecture 21 is devoted to speak about functional classes of dependent clauses. Now, on the basis of their potential functions, we distinguish several major categories of dependent clauses. These categories are: we have nominal clauses, adverbial clauses, relative clauses, and comparative clauses. Now, we shall be speaking about each one of these categories in details. Before that, I feel that it is convenient to explain to you the general outline of these categories. Let's start with nominal clauses. The nominal clauses have functions that approximate to those of noun phrases. So they are just like noun phrases in that they may function as subject, as object, complements, appositive, and a prepositional complement. Every nominal clause may function in some or all of these functions. However, they are unlike noun phrases in that they may also function as adjective complementation without a preposition. Adverbial clauses. Of course, now here we are going to give a brief note about adverbial clauses and the other types of clauses. Later on, we will discuss them in details. Adverbial clauses function mainly as adjuncts or disjuncts. In those functions, they are like adverb phrases, but in their potentiality for greater explicitness, they are more often like prepositional phrases. Relative clauses generally function as restrictive or non-restrictive modifiers of noun phrases. So their main function is to modify the noun phrase and are therefore functionally parallel to attributive adjectives. So they are, in a way or another, they are parallel to the function of attributive clauses in that they describe, they modify the nouns. Comparative clauses, of course, together with their correlative elements, maybe the use of more, or the use of as, or the use of the er suffix, they are equivalent to degree adverbs. Now, we shall be speaking about nominal clauses. Nominal clauses, clauses approximating in function to noun phrases, fall into 6 major categories. So we have 6 major categories of nominal clauses. Now, what are they? Data clauses, interrogative clauses, exclamative clauses, nominal relative clauses, to infinitive clauses, and ing clauses. Now let's start with the first category of nominal clauses, which is the data clause. Nominal data clauses may function as subject. So the first syntactic function of nominal data clauses is that of a subject. So like when we say, for example, that we need more hospitals is clear to everyone. So now that we need more hospitals is what is the data clause, which functions here as a subject. The data clause can also function as a direct object. So like when we say the government denied that the announced numbers of COVID-19 infection are untrue. So as you see that the announced numbers of COVID-19 infection are untrue, here the data clause here functions as a direct object. The data clause can also function as a subject complement. So like when we say, for example, my idea is that we stay at home. So that we stay at home, is the subject complement. Okay, is the subject complement. They can also, the data clauses can also function as a appositive. Now, what is meant first? Let's say what is meant by an appositive. An appositive is a noun or a noun phrase or a clause. So in our case here, it is a clause, the data clause. What is the function of the appositive? It functions to describe or rename another noun right beside it. An appositive data clause usually follows an abstract noun, so a noun that refers to an abstract idea, which is mostly a derivative from a verb or an adjective. So examples like belief and believe. So belief is derived from the verb what? Believe. And knowledge and know is derived from the noun knowledge. Suggest is derived from the noun suggestion. Okay. So it functions as an appositive, like for example when we say we agree to the opinion that we must maintain social distancing. Okay? So we agree to the opinion that we must maintain social distancing. So that we must maintain social distancing is the appositive that a clause. Here it functions as what? As a description or a renaming of the noun that is what? Beside it, which is opinion. Okay, opinion. So it is used as a description of opinion. What is the opinion? That we must maintain social distancing. The data clause can also function as an adjectival complement. Okay, so like when you say it was very obvious. It was very obvious that this was the murder weapon. So that this was the murder weapon is the data clause which functions as an adjectival complement. Now let's add some notes about the use of data clauses. Now, data clause, first note, data clause rarely functions as an indirect object. So this means that the use of that clause as an indirect object is very rare. Okay, however, it is used, but its use is very rare. It is not, so frequently used. So like when we say, for example, the the government has given that the poor need health care little consideration. Okay, so now the data clause that the poor need health care here functions as an indirect object. Okay, so the government has given that the poor need health care little consideration. Okay, so that the poor need health care is the indirect object. Now, note number 2. When the that clause is direct object or subject complement, the conjunction that is frequently omitted except in formal use, leaving a zero that clause. So it means that sometimes the conjunction that can be deleted. So in what cases? When we have it, when the data clause functions as a direct object or when it functions as a subject complement. Consider the following examples. I saw that she had injured her arm. Here, the data clause that she had injured her arm is a direct object. So the conjunction that can be deleted. So I can say I saw she had injured her arm without using the conjunction that. The same thing applies for the next example. I noticed that he spoke English with Australian accent. The data clause here functions as a direct object, so we can delete the conjunction that. So I can say I noticed he spoke English with Australian accent. My assumption is that the COVID-19 will last for a long time. The data clause here is used as a subject complement. So again, since it functions as a subject complement, here we can also delete the conjunction that. So we can say my assumption is the COVID-19 will last for a long time. Note number 3. The conjunction that is similarly omitted when a subject data clause is extraposed. When it is delayed. So first let's explain what is meant by extraposition. Now, an extraposition is a construction or a transformation in which a clause that acts as a subject is moved or extraposed to the end of the sentence and replaced by a dummy it in the initial position. So when we delay the clause to another position. So the conjunction that is similarly omitted when a subject data clause is extraposed. So when the subject data clause is delayed to another position, is moved, is right moved. Okay, when we move it to the right, then the conjunction that can be omitted also. So take for example, that the banks are closed on Saturday is nonsense. So it's nonsense that the banks are closed on Saturday. So here we can say it without using the conjunction that. So it is nonsense the banks are closed on Saturday. Consider the next example. That you don't speak English is a pity. So I'm going to extrapose the data clause to the right, and I will start my sentence with the dummy it. So I say it is a pity. It is a pity don't you don't speak English. Okay, it's a pity you don't speak English. Of course, here I deleted the conjunction that. Okay, and I can also keep it. So it is, I mean, the deletion of the that conjunction is optional. You can keep it or you can delete it. So I can say it is a pity you don't speak English, or it's a pity that you don't speak English. Consider the next example. That you have been misled is obvious. It is obvious that you have been misled. Okay. Now, note number yeah, this should be number 4. It is not number 5. It should be number 4. So note number 4. Extraposition of subject data clause is particularly preferred when the main clause is interrogative, passive, or exclamative. So consider the following example. So it means that in these situations, the data clause is preferably to be extraposed, to be delayed, to be moved to the right. So consider the following sentence. That they cannot afford to rent data flat is possible. Okay? So the data clause here functions as a subject. Now, to form a yes-no question about this sentence, we need to extrapose the subject data clause. So I have to say, is it possible that they cannot afford to rent data flat? So you see, now the data clause is extraposed because the main clause is interrogative. The same thing applies when the main clause is in the passive. So it was told that the ceasefire is still held. So the original sentence reads as that the ceasefire is still held. Okay, was told. Now, since it is the main clause is in the passive, then we are preferring to delay the data clause. So we should say it was told that the ceasefire is still held. The same thing also applies with exclamative clauses. How strange it is that the children are so quiet. That retention. So now, previously we talked about what the deletion of that, okay, and now we have to speak about the retention of that, the cases in which we have to keep the conjunction that. So the zero that clause is particularly common when the clause is brief and uncomplicated. Retention of the conjunction that is necessary under the following conditions. So these are the conditions which require us to keep the conjunction that. First, to clarify whether an adverbial belongs to the main clause or the that clause. So compare, for example, they told us once again that the situation was serious. So the position of that after the second comma rather than before the first comma in this sentence is decisive in assigning the parenthetical adverbial to the main clause, not to the that clause. If the conjunction that had been omitted, the structure would have been left unclear. And since if it would have been left unclear, so it means that the meaning will be, unclear, and the interpretation will be unclear too. Okay. Second, when the object that clause is fronted, okay, so when we front the object that clause to the first sentence position, also we have to keep the conjunction that. So consider the following examples. I simply don't believe that she never said such a thing. Okay? That she never said such a thing, I simply don't believe. So here I have to keep the conjunction that. In the first example, I simply don't believe that she never said such a thing. That, the conjunction that, is optionally deleted, so I can't delete it. But when we front the object that clause, we should keep the conjunction that. Number 3. When a clause or a long phrase intervenes between the verb and the that clause. So we decide, in view of the current situation, that we would deliver our lectures online. So here we have what a prepositional phrase that intervenes, okay, between the verb and the that clause. So for this reason, we should keep that. We should keep that, okay, and don't delete it. Okay. So this concludes our lecture for today. I hope that if you have any question, you have to ask me. Okay, thank you.